just eating chocolate as well, and you've got a cat. What I love you be. How was your Easter?
Yeah, good man. I literally just was here on my own, not doing much. I only got an Easter egg after Easter, so hence why I'm still eating it. Yeah, it was weird. My friend, she went and did some shopping for me today. Hence why I'm a bit late. She can talk a lot. And she just bought me about, I would say, a good 40 quid's worth of Easter eggs for like £4.
Hey, need friends. Sounds like a good
you, like Easter eggs for 30p.
Oh yeah, I got a couple the other day. I went to the supermarket and I was getting the essentials, of course, like you do your milk and so on. But there was this big wall of Easter eggs for like you say, like 50p, and I was like, life's pretty difficult right now, a bit weird.
Yeah.
If I can have an Easter egg, that can make things a little bit better.
I agree, actually. Totally agree. She said, "Oh, send me a list of what you want," because obviously I'm self-isolating so completely, so I was like, sent her this whole big list of stuff, and then I put in capital letters: chocolate, 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 because it's something, I know I went 3.5 weeks with no chocolate, right? And I was starting to go a little bit crazy because I was like, I just need something sweet. Sorry, got the cat in the way. And I just needed something sweet, and I was like, I just need some chocolate. It's not much to ask for, is it? So yeah, she bought me a lot. Actually, I'm going to show you. Right, do you want to see?
Yeah, show me. Yeah.
All right, you're on my. Because everyone wants to see. Right, wait.
Oh, that is a collection. That's impressive.
That's not bad, is it?
No, that's
all that for £4.
Perfect, mate. No, you're doing all right. I've only got one. Nearly finished it.
I'm well happy, mate. I'm just like, chocolate.
Yeah, it's like the little things. I mean, on one of these conversations, actually, I talked to a Buddhist monk, and we were talking about using this as an opportunity to rethink some things, to maybe develop, and whether that be your diet or some behavior and stuff. And I was thinking, not diet in this. like that's the one thing at the minute, like having a bit of chocolate and stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I think I have. It's quite funny because I knew that I was going to be in total lockdown. It does make you, and obviously I'm really lucky. I have a chef in past, my old career. So for me, this whole idea of being locked down in this sort of like environment, which I thought, well, actually, this is not too bad. I can deal with this, because my nan used to say two things: if you've got an egg and if you've got a potato, you've got a meal. And that logic of like making do with what you've got. As a chef, I have a lot of herbs, spices, and all the sort of like the condiment shelf sort of stuff, the larder sort of and dried goods. So I've probably got enough food in this flat with just dried goods and stuff like that for about 3 months for myself, because it's amazing what you can make out of nothing. So I wasn't too concerned. But I did notice that I've started to cut down on my portion sizes. And I did that because I know that I do a lot of walking and stuff. So I knew that I wasn't going to be getting the sort of exercise that I like doing. So I didn't want to get too fat. And when you're eating a lot of potatoes and lentils and
you're either going to come out of this ripped or fat. Like 2 ways. You're either going to be.
I would say more fat.
As well, to be honest.
Definitely not ripped. If I come out of this ripped, then there's something like there's some magic happening or some witchcraft somewhere. I watched the one with the Buddhist monk guy, And there was something really interesting that he talked about, and it's something I said so many times, like, you know, and it's where he talks about, you know, people don't think that one person can change the world, but they can. And I say this all the time because it took one person to change my world, right? And I then go on and change other people's worlds, and we can, as one person, we can change the world with. And you know, it's another saying that people say, you know, charity starts at home, and it does, because you know, you have to sort of like have everything in a level playing field in your friends, your environment, your family, and stuff like that, before you can then pass on the knowledge, etc., going on. So I really do think one person not just can, but does change the world from within, and it does start with your the way that you eat, the environment that you live in, you know, your beliefs, etc., etc. So yeah, I really got him on this level there when he started talking about that. So that was really interesting.
I think I mean, I had a friend of mine, Clement, who's a photographer, and he's very involved with the animal rights movement at the minute. And he's been a vegan for a little while now. And he was talking about, in the same way, you know, how can we change our diets in that respect? And both him and Marcus, who's the Buddhist monk, they both have made these huge transitions in their lives. But they said, yes, this could be a great time. You know, you're at home, rethink some things, change some things. But they both made that point of like, you don't have to, like, if you want to go vegan, you don't have to cut it all now. And same with Marcus, he was like, he went traveling for a bit, and slowly then these things happened. I think a lot of people have been like, oh, great, I've got all this time, I'm at home, I need to change now. Like damn, I'm going to be in this for a while. So
yeah, exactly. And the thing is, so as you know, I'm an alcoholic, right? And I say I am an alcoholic, even though I haven't had a single touch of alcohol for 7 years nearly now. I think it's 2013. So yeah, 7 years. And the thing is, as an alcoholic, you can't just give up drinking, right? You just can't do it, right? Because and this is the same with so many other different sort of things that you do, whether it's a substance, whether it's alcohol, whether it's cigarettes and stuff like this, right? You can't just cut stuff, right? Because what happens, your body goes into shock, right? And it can actually have adverse effects on you, because your body is so used to a certain way of doing stuff that then suddenly, you know, this shock factor can have detrimental effects. So you sort of like, you wean yourself off. And I think this is the same with, you know, if you just cut and went straight vegan, your body can't get used to stuff that quick. So you have to sort of like change it in moderation in different things. I don't think I could ever be a vegan. I don't think I could be a vegetarian. You know, I do eat vegetarian meals and I do eat vegan meals, but I do everything in moderation, and that's because obviously I have illnesses and lots of medications that I have to take. So I have to have a certain amount of different things in my diet to be able to do that. I don't eat dairy apart from chocolate. That is the only dairy that I eat.
say that would be
Yeah. So I don't, you know, and that's because, right, non-dairy chocolate is fucking rank. I have tried to have it, but mate, it is just rank. I can't eat it. It leaves this vile taste in your mouth. It like you just wash your mouth in margarine. It's just horrible.
A lot of vegan stuff at the minute. I always try, like, if like a fast food chain has a vegan thing, I say, yeah, fuck it, give it a go. And they're getting better, you know, generally, like, and it'll be in like 10 or so years, I think everything will be, that vegan food will taste so nice, and it will be less, like, there's still a little bit to go. I mean, Clement, for people that want to watch his conversation. He makes some really good points about that, and I like that. You know, I had this conversation with him because I was wary of saying it because he's so passionate and he's with all these animal rights people. I thought, oh, I don't want to sound like an idiot, be like so ignorant and stuff. But at the same time, I thought, no, well, there's a lot of people like me. There's a lot of people like him. We might as well both be honest about what we're doing. And that's where those aspects came out from him, where he was like, he loved cheese. He couldn't imagine a life without cheese. Now he doesn't. So, and that was another like nice point of like, I think people are very afraid to have those conversations, because I was nearly guilty of it by almost pretending that I was like, yeah, vegan, like everyone should be vegan, but like really, I probably ate some meat that day.
Yeah, I understand that. When I first started to give up dairy, I did it because of medical reasons. I started to do it, and I struggled first of all because the taste is so different. I have soy milk. The problem now, if I have to have milk, like normal dairy milk, I cannot stand the taste of it. It makes me physically sick. And so, you know, and this is what I mean, like by cutting stuff off straight away, you can't do it. Like, you know, your body has to get used to it, your taste buds have to get used to it, etc., etc. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
I mean, I taught.
I was a foodie for many years. Like I was a chef for 21 years. I know I don't look that old enough, but honestly, I was. I haven't cooked for nearly 10 years now.
I spoke to someone smoking cigarettes, and they gave it up, and they said the smell of cigarettes makes them feel so sick now, even though they were so addicted to it for so long in their life. They stopped smoking, and I think they like had a vape, or they changed to like rollies first. They sort of did that transition away.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so interesting to hear people then flip and be like, I mean, do you think you would be like that with alcohol? Like, I'm not saying like, oh, you should try it, but do you think you would have it and be like, oh, this is gross?
I've had non-alcoholic beer. Obviously, I was part owners in bar restaurants, so I was always surrounded by alcohol, and I used to drink a lot of alcohol. A lot. I'm not ashamed to say it. I used to drink a lot. I had a fridge next to my fucking bed, for God's sake, which was just full of beer. And it used to be empty quite a lot. But then I lived above a 24-hour shop as well, so there was always access to alcohol. What I did was, when I gave up drinking and I weaned myself off because of lack of money, I didn't even go into a bar or anything like that for 3 years, and then when I did start going back in, I only tried sort of like soft drinks first of all, and then I thought, actually, I'm going to try a non-alcoholic beer, and I tried it, and I thought, oh, actually, it tastes like beer. If I tried that 2 days after giving up, or even when I was drinking alcohol, I would have been like, what the fuck's this piss, man? This is disgusting, like, you know. But because my brain has forgotten what alcohol actually tastes like now, by having a non-alcoholic beer actually tastes like actually having a beer. So I don't feel like I miss out.
Because that's such a staple, isn't it? Like of having a beer. Like in the UK, we watch sports. You have a beer. You party, alcohol. Like everything's like a beer.
Totally.
Nice to have.
I think this is where we're really lucky now, because in the last sort of like 5 years, especially, there's been an influx of non-alcoholic drinking. You know, it's actually quite cool to go out and not drink. I'm only saying that because I am fucking cool when I go out not drinking. No, I'm joking. But I am, right? but I'm saying like it isn't shunned like it used to be. So you'd have something derogatory said about you for having a soft drink, like or having a non-alcoholic beer. But now, if you go into a bar and ask for non-alcoholic beer, people are like, oh yeah, what choice would you like?
Yeah.
Where it only ever used to be sort of like one thing. So
And
yeah, it's really strange.
have to find it in the bottom of the cellar and dust it off and
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I don't miss drinking. I think because obviously I put my past into my work, and I talk about being an alcoholic and every other problem, like living on a sun thrown at me. I, I am still surrounded by the environment in a way. So yeah, it's really weird. I thought giving up drinking would be the hardest thing in the world for me because I loved it so much, and I loved the lifestyle, the environment. But I think because you get to a certain age and you just go, actually, am I going to miss it? And I haven't missed it at all. I don't miss the hangovers. I don't miss the fuck up of a life that I had. I don't miss that at all. No. So yeah, it's really weird. I think I did nearly have an alcoholic drink recently. It was accidentally bought for me. I sipped it and all that, and I nearly had a panic attack because
I fear you're going to drink it and go, oh.
Yeah, I literally took a sip and I went, that's got alcohol in it. And I was like, I can't drink that. And then a friend of mine, she tried it and she went, no, there's definitely no alcohol in it. And I went, but because my brain was telling me that there was, I then couldn't drink it. So I was like, no, I'll go and buy something else. So yeah, it's strange how your brain works, really.
What have you been doing? Like, are you not, because of your health, are you literally not able to leave your house at all?
Yeah, so basically I've got people passing stuff through my window, groceries, medical stuff. I had all my medication dropped off by FedEx this morning. It's really good actually. It dropped off 7 months supply, so it's a fucking big box like this. It's funny, right? My FedEx guy dropped off 7 months worth of medication and probably about 7 months worth of coffee. I ordered. I didn't realise I'd ordered 3 kilos of like coffee, so I've got this huge amount of coffee now, which I'm so happy about. So yeah, that's both medicinal, isn't it? Coffee and meds. Yeah, so I've pretty much been locked in a flat now for 5 weeks. It's okay. It's manageable. There's been a couple of days where I felt a bit low, but that's because I have mental health problems. As I always say, I'm crazy, so I'm going to have some down moments. But I think I'm lucky as well because I can work from home as well. So I do my charity work, which I work on 3 days a week, but I've decided to sort of like where I'd normally work 3 full days, I'm splitting that over a 5-day sort of period. So it sort of like makes me do stuff. And then obviously my art. So originally I was supposed to be opening a solo show in July down in Kent. That's now been cancelled because of COVID, which is a bit of a fucker. I understand why it's been cancelled. It was going to open, so basically it was going to be called The Unknown Soldier.
Talking about it when we were
So basically it was, it's mixed media. So there's like paintings, oil paintings, watercolors, memorabilia, archive paperwork from before I was homeless. There also was I would say like an installation piece of an unknown soldier, a solo soldier, in a glass, I would say coffin. I'm going to say coffin, but in a glass cabinet which laid out looks like they're in a coffin. The uniform of a soldier who passed away. And their stories are written on the uniform. It's one of the soldiers from a previous piece that I did at the Tate Modern called Soldier's Story. But because I'm making the show into a solo piece, I wanted it to be this whole sort of like isolation of stuff, from talking about the mental health, the physical ailments, the reasons that person becomes homeless, and then there was that, and then there's a film which I've been making, which is it's like I'm trying to think of how best to explain it. It's mainly black and white with elements of color flashes in it. It's very artistic. It's not like, you know, a movie which you'd go to cinema to see. That's not the point. And it's all about memory and space, and isolation, and how and to that there's a narrative and a soundtrack, which I've just commissioned 3 new pieces of music for it. This I have funding for, so luckily I can still work on this while I'm here. And with that, then there would be a live performance element to that show, as well. So this is what I've been working on over the last year, to get it all ready.
You have to explain it to me like this, rather than it just being there. Like you were just saying, how do I explain it? Or it's like this, it's not actually like that. You can't let it just speak for itself.
And that's the problem, like, because the thing with art, and especially with a lot of my art, is it's storytelling, and it's about I could sit here and talk the story and talk everything through it, but unless you're physically seeing and touching and being part of that piece, it's really difficult to understand, because it's an immersive room basically of artwork, from old film footage from over 40 years ago, up until today, shot a lot of it on this little thing.
Oh, cool.
Which is a little 8mm camera. It's broken, it's old, it's rusty. The focus doesn't work properly on it no more. But I absolutely love how it shoots, and it makes everything quite dark, so it adds to this whole element. And then I also use digital footage as well. I've got stuff which parts spliced into it. I call it spliced into it. I don't use any of the proper terminology of stuff like, you know, I always say zipped up here and it's spliced in there. I'll just cut that bit in. Yeah, exactly. I'm not a trained filmmaker. It's not what I do, but a lot of my art practice has had film elements to it, for the last 8 years. And I really like that medium, to be able to tell a story, to be able to get it. The way I do it, it makes you feel like you're in my mind, which I think is probably quite scary for people to be in my mind. It's a bit fucked up. But yeah, it's just, and then there's all these elements all like mixed together with this music, which is haunting, in parts, and then the narrative of the performer in front as well. There will also be, I'm in the process of rewriting a part to be filmed like a dystopian interruption, which will be part way through the film as well. And the whole story is about a guy killing himself. So it is quite dark, to say the least. But I don't like to sugarcoat stuff. I I think we as and we spoke about this before, but I believe that we as a nation or as human beings, we don't talk about the hardest things in life. We always brush stuff under the carpets, and then because we brush stuff under the carpets, those subjects get stigmatized. So, you know, we don't talk about addiction, we don't talk about alcoholism, we don't talk about suicide, you know, mental health, and all these different homelessness, terminal illnesses, HIV, you know. Oh shit, I've had all that. So do you know what I mean?
Why?
I might as well talk about it.
Yeah, it's funny in a way that, you know, there's been a great effort in recent years to break the stigma on mental health, which is great, obviously. But then the stigma still exists for everyone else. And there's like other ones, like, for example, like the HIV one, people are still like, oh, no, not
Yeah,
right.
yeah, totally.
It's like, but we've just tried to do that for something else. Like, it's so similar in that way. And like, who does it take, or what campaign does it take until people start going, oh, okay, we'll start to talk about that now?
I think it's when some sort of big name celebrity, and I know it happened with Freddie Mercury and people like Kenny Everett, and the names are, there's so many names out there of people who've died from HIV, especially in the art world. You know, people like David Wojnarowicz, who was an amazing activist. He was after he died, his ashes got dumped onto the White House lawn, you know, as protest for Ronald Reagan and how they decimated their treatment for people with HIV in America. So, you know, I think the problem is over the years, leaders around the world, like, you know, have always like jumped on the fear element, to be able to get messages across. So, you know, when something like, prime example with COVID, like, you know, now you've got huge amounts of Chinese being stigmatized, racist attacks on them, beaten in the streets, you know, and because COVID-19 is being blamed on a certain minority. Okay, it's a minority in our country, but not there, and that's wrong. You know, viruses just start. It just happens. You know, it's called evolution, and then the same with like HIV. You know, there was no, you know, it wasn't, as it was called, the gay disease for a very long time, as we know. So then gay people were then stigmatized, etc., etc. We all know the history about it, but the problem is we then had leaders who actually perpetuated, you know, people like Maggie Thatcher, Ronald Reagan, perpetuated the problem. So then suddenly, you know, you had advertising campaigns with giant tombstones demonizing people for something which was out of their control. You know, people say, well, you know, it's your own fault that you got it. Yeah, I had sex. What's so fucking wrong with that?
No one wanted to get it. Like no,
no, exactly, right. And most people have sex, right? And the thing that I had shouted at me so many times about this was like, well, you should have wore protection. And I go, so you're telling me that you've never had sex with protection? And it was a person who had children, like, telling me this, and I went, so you're telling me that you've never had unprotected sex? And he's like, yes. I went, so how have you got children? So to make children, you've got to have unprotected sex, right? So just because I'm gay and I have unprotected sex with somebody doesn't mean that I deserve to be diagnosed with HIV. It wasn't my fault. It just, as an accident, it's one of those things. The person who I was having sex with didn't know that they had it either. You know, so and this is the thing. You know, I don't officially know who I got it from, because the people who I've slept with didn't know that they had it, or don't know that they have it. So and the bigger percentage of people being diagnosed with HIV are heterosexual. You know, so so this whole sort of like thing, but this was all perpetuated by our governments in the time, and it still is. Sadly, there's more and more cuts in HIV treatment and awareness, you know, and sadly there is going to be an increase. Hopefully not now that we've got PrEP, and that can help. But yeah, I could go on forever talking about HIV.
I know very, very little amount about HIV. Like personally, you know, being heterosexual, it's never been forced into my narrative. Like we're saying, like it's always been a gay thing. And I remember I watched Straight Out of Compton the other day actually, and Easy contracted HIV, and there's that scene, it's shown him in his hospital bed, and he is like, that's impossible. You know, it was almost like heterosexual people were like, I cannot.
Yeah, immune to it.
Yeah.
Immune. Yeah, exactly. And I think this is the thing. I met this young girl. Well, I say young girl, she's probably about my age now, but she was married, she had children, and she'd been ill for about 15 years, right? And they didn't know what it was, right? And she had test after test, they thought she had cancer and all this sort of stuff, right? And it actually turned out she was HIV positive, right? And she was like, but that's impossible, right? And she'd got it. She'd had it for like nearly 20 years by this stage, right? Without even knowing, because they never thought, oh, well, you're a woman, you're not going to have it, like, you know, in a heterosexual like relationship. But she did, and she was devastated. She couldn't believe it. She then got demonized because of it. Luckily, her marriage didn't break up, and that was great. But do you know what I mean? Because they don't, you know, heterosexuals. It doesn't go through doctors' things. Like, oh, well, you're straight. You don't have to worry, like, you know. But you do. Do you know what I mean?
All the things, like, why it seems to be so common that something will happen to a person that is so devastating to the person personally, and then they get attacked by everything else. Like, I mean, the one I always think about is celebrities that obviously fuck up. Like, if you're a celebrity, you're a human being. You're obviously get stuff wrong, and as soon as you get something wrong, every newspaper, everyone is after you, and it's so like stupid that our society will then attack someone who's
totally. Prime example, Caroline Flack. You know, she was demonized. Like it was so obvious that the girl was having mental health problems. It was obvious, like you know, in just in her persona and the way she was, like, you know. And you don't then demonize people for it, because then what happens ultimately? They try killing themselves. You know, I was demonized quite a lot. I had huge amounts of stigma thrown at me for stuff that happened in my past, and for being, you know, I suppose I stigmatized myself more for HIV, but the gay community are vile. And there are people out there in the community who know that this is something that we've been demonized for as a community, but they're willing to then demonize the people with HIV in their own community. And I find that absolutely disgusting. And they do it blatantly, and it's vile the way they are. So you have all this, and you know, and ultimately, you know, that does affect your mental health, your well-being, and then if you've then got other things going on in your life, like I had with my alcohol problem, you know, losing my partner, losing my house, you know, having a stroke, etc., 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 and then obviously becoming homeless. There's only so long that you can keep going for until something completely snaps. And obviously mine was trying to kill myself several times. And then you then get stigmatized for that as well. And it's just like, fucking hell, man, give me a break, will you? You know, I obviously tried killing myself and came back to my flat to find out that I'd been made homeless, you know, literally coming back from the hospital. And I was like, what's going on? So, you know, I think, yeah, we have we do have a really compassionate country, and we do, but my God, we are fucking evil as well. We will jump on people just because it makes us feel better that someone else's life is shitter than ours. So we'll go, oh yeah, and then people get evil, like they did with Caroline Flack. She got so much vile abuse, even though the girl was having problems, and people still were like, oh, wish you were dead, wish you were dead. Well, they got their wish, didn't they? Because in the end, she did kill herself. And I think, and this is something I had a problem with last year. I was getting quite a lot of abuse online for the fact that I was running a homeless arts festival. I still don't get it. I still don't understand why I was getting grief. And I was getting vile grief. And I blocked all of these accounts. They were still getting through. I then blocked them even more. And then the next thing is they're phoning my home phone, and I'm getting abuse on my phone and messages left. And I'm like going, what the fuck have I done? And it got that much that it started to affect my mental health again. So in the end, and now I've cancelled the festival. So it won't be happening again. So a huge amounts of people will be missing out because of the abuse from a minority of people who just think it's okay to abuse people, because they go, well, actually, it doesn't matter about him. We'll just abuse him. Just
well, yeah,
it makes me feel better.
Yeah, it was odd when I heard you were thinking of cancelling. I think because last time we saw each other in person, you gave me the card. We walked to the stage together. We had a great chat about it. And then I remember texting you about something. Maybe that was it or something else. And then you were like, "Yeah, I'm not going to do it." And I was like, "How can I obviously respected your decision. Like something must have happened." But I was thinking, what could have happened in that period to see someone so excited about something?
Yeah, obviously I'd been running it for 4 years with no money, no funding, no proper funding. I had support from local art centre and businesses, which were amazing. And, big shout out to them. They were fantastic. And then when everything started to get on top of me, and then I had problems with getting a visa for America last year, and all this sort of, and everything just boils up and stuff. And in the end, it just got to a stage where I think it was late February, beginning of March, that I was struggling with my mental health, and I said, do you know what? And the abuse had started again, and that was the thing what got me. I ended up reporting it to police here, but it got to a stage where I just went, I put so much work in for 4 years building up this festival, which ended up being in 3 cities last year, international art from all around the world, out of my own pocket, out of my own time, huge amounts of hours and goes into having that going on, my mental health starting to fracture, and me thinking something has to give, and it's either my mental health completely rocks and goes again, and I don't want to go back to the state I was ever in before, or I make decisions on what is causing most of the stress and the problems, and that just happened to be the festival and the people who, I think a lot of people just didn't. I don't know whether it was jealousy or whether it was. I don't know. I don't know what it was. Why people were going at me. I don't know. Whether they see you suddenly doing good, and obviously picking myself up off the streets, and and progressing and building my life back up again, and it felt like that suddenly they wanted to knock me back down again, and that's what it felt like to me. So in the end, I just made the decision. I just went, you know what, I'm just gonna stop.
We all have those people in our lives, don't we? Most people have them in their immediate people that they actually know, where we all go through difficult points. And I think through starting all my projects, there's definitely some people that have made some unnecessary comments or little digs and stuff, which you can deal with, because often if you know that person, you're like, well, I probably can see where they're coming from. Maybe they're not, everyone's got their own shit. But then that removed element of someone you don't know doing it makes it one, more painful because you're like, well, you don't actually know me, so you don't actually know what.
Exactly.
But then it also means that they're so much more worse because there's no restriction, there's no threshold.
Yeah, there's no filter, and I think this is the thing. Like, you know, there have been times where, you know, I've had abuse, you know, thrown at me online, and I've counteracted. I've come back at them and said, well, actually, you don't know, and I've spelled out everything I've been through, and they're like, whoa, hands up, sorry, man, I'm really sorry, like blah blah blah. But this lot weren't like this, and it was just this tirade of, like, you know, just kept coming, and in the end, I was like, I'm just gonna brush that away. I've still kept the website. I've still got that. Still got the Twitter account for the festival. And if in the future I feel that there are elements of it that can maybe go online or do something with it, then I will. But at the moment, it's on hold until
keep it alive in some respect. Like you were saying, you know, having the work in 3 different cities, you know, and it actually makes you forget about those achievements you've had, you know.
Yeah, it was pretty mad last year. So we had it in London, Gloucester, and Manchester. Manchester, we put a live concert on, and also recorded a charity single, which then got sold with oh my god, the name's gone out my head. A really famous musician has gone out my head. It'll come to me in a minute. Yeah. But we recorded a charity single with a famous person, and then in Gloucester we did like the festival did like a collaboration with the cathedral there, and in London we had the main exhibition, but we had artwork from all over. Japan, America, Sweden, Denmark, Germany. We've had stuff from Brazil, Slovakia, Slovenia. So it's had quite a big reach. Let's just say that, for no funding, and one person doing it all. It's and to run for 4 fucking years, that's nuts. Like, and then last year, and also we took over a theatre last year, so we did 2 days theatre production. We had film premieres. It was just like, yeah, it was nuts. Last year was good. I actually I actually started to enjoy it last year, because it just seemed like, I don't know, it just, yeah, it was nice. There's elements that I would have changed, but you know, that's every year we do the same. We even raised money for one of the local charities last year as well. So, you know, and I didn't take any money, so we were selling stuff on the night and stuff, and all that money went to charity as well. So, you know, it was good. But I feel I can do more stuff by stepping away from the festival. So with the work that I do, not just in my own artwork, but with the work I do at the charity, there's new elements to play with, but I think my skills can be used in a better way, I think, ish, maybe. Yeah. Hence obviously you read the essay I wrote about Japan, and you know, it's elements like that, going away and working abroad, that I think that my knowledge and skills can benefit people, you know, around the world, with how, you know, people can address homelessness, but sort of like the perceptions can change, because I think we always look at it in a certain way, but I don't know if that's the right way of.
Well, is it in the way that the work you've done and the stuff that you've done in the UK, I think, you know, you break these perceptions, or you work out strategies to help people, and you kind of think like the job's done, and then you go to a different country and you're like, oh my god, they still exist, and you can sort of take out.
Yeah, I think this is the thing. You know, the homeless arts in Japan, they've got So in Japan, they have the only homeless dance troupe in the world, right? And they're called Socorrisa, and they're the most amazing, and I mean amazing performers. I cry every time I see them. Like, they're stunning, and I want them to come to the UK. So we're looking at ways of how we can bring them over, do a tour and stuff like this, right? And I know, and it will happen probably next year at some point, hopefully, touch wood. Seeing how arts and the homeless arts are seen as well, and homelessness, or not seen in some countries. So I think, as time goes on and as more people start engaging with my work, the more people start to actually see homelessness in a different light, and not dehumanizing it. So not dehumanizing it, not objectifying it in a certain way. We always look at homelessness, and when you mention homelessness, you automatically think of that rough sleeper on the street, and that's only 1% of the overall problem in the UK, especially. And that's what I want to change. I want to change how we see and think about homelessness, because a lot of people think that, just because you've been homeless, they think that you're useless. And I think I'm proving that's fallacy, because I think, I was homeless. It was only for a short period of 2-year period of my life, but that label is left on me. I know partly my fault, because I do call myself an ex-homeless artist, but that I won't forever. But a lot of people class me as the homeless artist, and I'm like, well, no. I said, I had a life before I was homeless, and I have a life after it. That was only a short period of time. Yes, I work in that field now, but that's because I choose to. I didn't have to. I could. Well, actually, I haven't got a fucking clue where I would have been working now, to be honest with you.
Always that, with things like that, people. Because I always talk about mental health, and like we said a few years ago, a lot of people were breaking the stigma. And the one thing I always said is, I've had a few struggles in my life, but it's such a minute aspect of my life. Like, I do so many cool and interesting and fun. Why should I be labelled or defined by this one small part? Like we were talking about, we love chocolate. People don't go, oh, there's Ollie and David, the chocoholics. So, it's like the smallest aspect. And I think, like, the mental health, or in your case as well, homelessness, it is part of your story, but it's just one part.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a very small part as well. I'm 45 now, I think. 45 now, and 2-year period is a very small part of my life. Why should it define me? Yes, in a way, that's helped me carve out a niche within my work. It's helped me in a way. Homelessness helped me evaluate my life. It helped me evaluate what was important and what wasn't. It helped me evaluate where I should be going, the path I should be taking. And I think this is what we get caught up in, this cycle of life, of just getting by, getting the wages in, paying our rent, buying our food, and it becomes this, and time just disappears when it's like that. Obviously, my life was getting out of control. I had my businesses, lost my businesses to drinking, etc., etc. And then suddenly to become homeless and actually have nothing, no life, no job, no reason to carry on. Suddenly you have to sort of sit back and think, wow, okay, where do I go from here? So I was really lucky that I am a creative. I do have the ability to utilize parts of what's going on in here and putting them into a physical element. And because of that, I've managed to sort of like put that moment in time and my previous life for 20 odd years into my work now. It's quite funny. I'm in the process of looking at starting more psychotherapy, and they've already turned around to me and they said, you're very good at evaluating your life, so you should find this whole next phase of psychotherapy a little bit more understandable. You'll understand more from it than you've ever done before. And I thought, yeah, I said it's because I've had quite a lot of psychotherapy in the past, and having lived the situations that I've lived where evaluation of my life was forced on me, and that's not a bad thing. I say to a lot of people, becoming homeless was one of the best things to happen to me. Yes, it was fucking shit. I hated every moment of it, but it's given me what I do today. My work is about homelessness, addiction, mental health, suicide. The real cheery, happy go sort of stuff. But I wouldn't be making the work that I do now if I hadn't become homeless, or if I hadn't.
That made me think of homelessness in a completely different way, and it's not like a big revelation. People aren't going to go, oh, but like when you were talking about the photos you took, and the full like shades of the sky, and it just made me like think about it all in such a different light. And that conversation was around when you talk about self-evaluation and becoming more artistic or just identifying that. But just that image of you, and my whole image on homelessness changed.
I think it's true, yeah, because like it goes back to that stereotypical, that image that we all have, because it's been peddled on us for so long from the mass media and any media, of it's that person with the cup on the street.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's not it. That is some parts of it. Yes, I understand that. But that's not the person who sat there. That person has a fucking life. They have interests, they have skills, they have family, they have, like, do you know what I mean? This whole part of them. And I was, like I said, I was really lucky that I could take photos. It was funny, I was talking about the same bit this morning to a guy I was talking to on the phone, about work and stuff, and I said, there was these elements of like 4 a.m. when the sun was starting to rise, which was magical. It was absolutely magical, and that I would never get sitting in my flat. Well, especially now. Don't get any of that now. I'm telling you, I don't see the sunrise. But do you know what I mean? And so, there are elements of like everything what happened, which yes, were shit, but I wouldn't change any of it, because I wouldn't have I wouldn't have the life that I have now. And I fucking love my life now. I love my life now. I've got the best job in the world. I make art for a living. I get to travel the world with like the charity I work with as well. Who wouldn't want that life? You're not having it. I'm not giving my job away to anyone. Like, fuck off. But I do. I love my life, and I'm really fucking lucky. I'm lucky that I survived. From the overdoses that I took. At the time, I didn't think I was lucky. I hated it, and it took years of therapy and self-care to be able to get to where I am now. There's only one thing I miss, and that's my hair. I really wish that would come back. I shaved it all off the other day, actually, but it's all patchy on the sides. But that's just from all the treatments and stuff. And but yeah, no, it's funny. Like, yeah.
You can't have it all. You've got the job. You can do art. I haven't got that. I'm quite jealous of you, but I'll claim the hair for this one.
I was about to say, you've definitely got the hair.
Hey, I'm getting out of control. Mine's all starting to go. But a lot of people shave.
Mine got out of control Mine got out of control and went, and it was like, see ya.
Before you go, I just wanted to like talk about so one thing that concerned me recently. So I was in Vancouver fairly recently, and in Vancouver there's a part of the city where there is a huge homeless community, and a lot of issues with addiction and drug misuse over there. And I was there when this virus was just starting out, and I was thinking, like, what about all these people? Like, and a lot of these people will have health issues, and I was like, is it just not going to sweep through this group of people and just kill so many people?
No, you're right. I work with several groups in Vancouver, and this is the same all across the world. Actually, we're pretty lucky in a way here that we've managed to put people in hotels and stuff like that. Not everyone's being put into hotels. There's a certain percentage of people don't want to go into hotels and don't trust the system, which is understandable. But yeah, this is one of the major problems. Vancouver, actually, they're doing some really good stuff there. Actually, there's some. I think it's called the Kettle Club or something like that. I can't remember the name of them now, but I met them when I was in Montreal working with the homeless communities there. But they've got some really big choirs there. They've actually got an injecting room now in that part of Vancouver, which you're talking about, which is a safe injection room funded by the Vancouver Council City. The problem is that they still have people coming along and picking up and throwing away people's belongings, like the police and stuff, every single day that happens in Vancouver. I don't know what the situation is of putting them into separate isolation rooms, because Vancouver has one of the biggest homeless hostels in the whole of North America. I think it's about 1,500 homeless people in one space. That can't be self-isolated. There are places in America, like in Las Vegas, where they're using a car park, but people are sleeping out in the open, even though all the fucking hotels around them are all empty, and they're putting people in a fucking car park out in the open. I don't understand that. I think that's inhumane. And they're literally just a meter apart from everyone. They're basically putting them in the car parking spaces, so everyone gets a space where a car would park.
But that's so bleak to just think about. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's just like, whose bright idea was that? I tell you what, I know what we can do. We can give them all a parking space. No tent. Oh yeah, fuck it. Let's stick them out in a parking space on that concrete floor when all these hotels around us are empty. We are in the process of starting some art projects in some of the hotels in the UK. We through Carbon Citizens, Geetha, who's their artistic, I think she's their artistic director. I don't know her actual title, but she's been volunteering at St Mungo's Hotel for the rough sleepers, and then took in a book trolley to start giving out books in the hotel. That's now being replicated in Coventry, Birmingham, and possibly Exeter and Brighton, taking up this. We've got other hotels in London which are doing a book thing. Art packs being sent out to the homeless, so that people can draw, they can do crocheting, cross stitch, all these different activities. There are so many good things happening around the world. Problem is that there are governments who aren't willing to step up. So in America, they've got round about 600,000 rough sleepers. That's people literally sleeping rough on the streets, around about 600,000, and nothing's being done. Nothing's being done.
It's quite.
It's just disgusting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
How can people isolate when they don't have a home to isolate in, right? And when they're shutting businesses down and stuff like that, which I understand, good. It's just if there's all this fucking money, right, to pay all these businesses, to pay all their staff, right, from central governments, right, and to furlough people and to invest into self-employed and other businesses and all this extra money for the NHS and social care and all this extra money, where billions of it, why couldn't they have housed all these homeless people before, when they kept saying that there's no money to do it?
It's like they've gone, oh, we've got all this money here now.
I know.
They reached down in the sofa and the cracks and found.
I know. It must have been one hell of a fucking crack. I tell you, that must mean you could have swam in that crack.
I was also thinking about like the businesses, because the campaign we did before, where we did the Valentine's one, that all the money went to the Canvas Cafe in East London.
Yeah.
And now those places aren't open. And like the Canvas, if you sit in the Canvas, you will see a number of, and you don't always know like who's homeless, who's not, but you see a number of people come in, get their food very discreetly, eat it in their leave. There must be loads of little projects like that are now out of action. So
yeah, totally.
As well.
And there's no funding for them either. And I think this is a problem. So it's just,
it's like, how do you keep going? Like, I know the Canvas are quite like popular, like they're really like in the community, and they're quite established there. I mean, I think they are anyway.
Yeah.
But there'll be a lot of like smaller people that was just individuals like yourself with your festival that were just doing little bits and bobs that really made a difference. And you know, that's
and this is the thing, and because suddenly that all gets shut down as well, it's the communities which are most marginalized and most vulnerable, which are always the ones which get forgotten and brushed on the carpet. There is some really good work out there, like people like Museum of Homelessness, Outside Project, people like Streets Kitchen, who are out every day feeding people, making sure people are, getting phone calls and stuff like that. All the different art groups I know are phoning their guys who would have been going to their, I phone up several of my artists every week just to see how they're doing, just how they're coping, and vice versa. I think, I wish I had like a really positive outcome to say with this, but I don't think there's gonna be one. I know for a fact that the homelessness is going to massively increase when we start to come out of lockdown. There are people still being evicted at the moment, which they shouldn't be, but they are being evicted. And that from shelter, I've heard that. It's just, and we're going to have probably some of the biggest unemployment there's been in the last 40 odd years.
I'm technically unemployed right now. Like I don't know what to do. Like I'm lucky I have like quite a lot of projects and I have my family that support me. But people keep asking me what you're going to do afterwards. I mean, I was supposed to be doing a bit of traveling, but I'm like, who knows? Who knows how long this will go on for?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Be there, and I have so many friends that are photographers and all sorts that had commercial jobs a lot of the time, and they're all gone. All their projects. Like I know some of the most talented people, and they're working in Tesco and stuff, which is an important job right now. Like, it's a job to have, but these are people that their livelihoods for the past few years have just been taken away.
Yeah, I think this is. I'm really fucking lucky that we're managing to keep the charity running, but that's because we're a really small team. There's only 4 of us, so it's manageable to keep that going on a very, very small budget. And at the moment, we've got no funding coming in and stuff like this, right? So it is difficult, but and I'm very lucky that I've got my art practice, even though the show's been cancelled, and I'm not got any money coming in from that at the moment. I know I can survive on the money I have in the bank to get me through at least the next 6 months, plus the income that I'm getting from the charity. So I know I can sort of survive. But there are friends of mine who have been decimated. Like, a friend of mine, in a 24-hour period, lost 3 months worth of income in 24 hours of all her bookings cancelled.
Yeah.
Everything in a 24-hour period. You know, yes, I had my solo show cancelled, which was big. It was a 3-month solo show, so that's massive. Would have been the longest solo show I've had so far. To suddenly lose that, I was like, shit. Like, do you know what I mean?
It's like that, isn't it? It's just gone.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm lucky that I'm still going to be getting the funding to build the show. I just need to now find a new gallery or space to actually premiere it. Premiere it? Yeah, that sounds cool. Premiere it. I need to premiere it. So yeah, so that's the only bit I've got to struggle with now, because I know for a fact that I would say a good 30 to 40% of very small galleries aren't going to reopen, and if they do, it will be very light touch. They'll probably, a lot of the galleries will be using a lot of their archive artwork to survive. So yeah, I think it's a really strange time in the creative industry. Well, I shouldn't say industry really. Well, no, it is. Fuck it. And the art world. Well, I've never really been in the art world. I've always been on the skirmishes of it. I'm sort of like in the gutters of the art world. That's what I would say. It's the best part, I tell you. It's where the fun is. But yeah, I think it's going to be really difficult. I think people have been panicking a little bit as well. Everyone's gone online with everything, so like all the museums are suddenly doing all these online tours and all stuff like this, right? And I can understand why they're doing it, because they want to still keep art and creativity in the people's minds. So then when we do come out of this, they will still think, oh, art and creativity, carry on. So I understand that, but I think we also actually, I hope that it destroys the art world in a way, so it can be rebuilt in a more social framework that actually benefits all, instead of just a very small percentage of artists. You know, like I've said before, you know, the average artist earns $5,000 a year, right? And I don't know anyone in England who can rent a place in London for $5,000 a year. Do you know what I mean?
No, I'm glad you said that, actually, because
it doesn't happen.
We had a girl who's a friend of ours called Alice, and she's a art curator in Los Angeles, and she's actually from Ukraine, and she just did this like fat file, she was telling me, to finally get a visa to work in the US, and she was like, this is it, LA, and then all the galleries closed, and I was like, oh, that sucks. But like, yeah, me and her talked a lot about online shows and stuff, and we didn't actually mention, the whole destruction of it and what might come from it, you know, creativity.
I really do hope it gets destroyed, because it's been a rich boys club for far too long, and you know, it's not fair that it's only a very, very small percentage of people, and a lot of these people aren't great artists. It's just they're good at fucking PR companies with them and stuff like this, right? You know, or they've got art buyer, because it's the art buyers who, or the art sellers, I should say, are the ones who basically choose who becomes famous or not, or whose art becomes popular, or do you know what I mean? You know, and I think that's wrong. Like, you know, I'd like to see the art world. I want to see more community arts. I want to see more arts made by people in prisons, you know, or hospital art, and people with mental health problems. I want to see all that in the galleries. I want to see, like, you know, real art, not just a fucking piece of painted fucking bright red piece of wood shoved in a gallery and then go, oh yeah, that's going to cost you 20 million to buy. Fuck off! I don't want to see shit like that.
Everyone wants to be creative. Like I came from a very I was much more sports and that sort of thing growing up, and then I've sort of merged into it in my sort of late teens, early 20s. And the amount of my friends who are still quite you know, away from the art world are so
Yeah.
intrigued. They all want something, you know, they're all intrigued. How can I do this? But like
Yeah.
with the face of it, you're just, you know, you like walk up to the door and then you're like, oh, okay, no, not for me.
It's funny, right? Because the art world, right? Because they're stuck in their way of working, and they're like, why change? It's always worked this way. Why change? Right? Well, I'll tell you why it's changed, because stuff like this, what's just happened, will destroy you overnight, right? And if you don't let everyone in, then that only small percentage of people, that's only going to last for so long before that all falls apart. Like, you know, the big nationals, they'll start falling apart because suddenly they're not getting the investment, they're not getting the money coming in and stuff like that, right? Or they're, oh, by the way, you're the head of the Arts Council and your wife is getting a huge amount from the Arts Council to do her artwork. Oh, funny that, isn't it? Like, do you know what I mean? So, and it shouldn't work like that. It shouldn't be brown overlap, you know, and little funny handshakes in the toilets and all this sort of stuff. Like, you know, it's bollocks, man. You know. So, what happens is the art world needs to sort of like really listen and become. You know, they say that community arts can't bring money and status to a place. I totally disagree with this, right? When you look at places like Santa Monica, I think it's Santa Cruz. I'm trying to think that Santa Cruz Museum. A woman called Nina Simons took it on, and it was making something like 850 grand a year. That's what it was making, right? And people couldn't understand why the community never came into it, right? So she was like, well, fuck this, we're going to change everything. The community are going to be the curators, right? They're going to be in working here, choosing the art, making the art, you know, and all this sort of stuff, right? They went in, I think it's a 5-year period from making 850, right, to nearly 8 million a year, right? Because it was the community arts which suddenly brought all the community in. So then the community were coming and they were treating it as if it was like another part of their life. You know, so it actually tenfold of people coming in and using the space, buying stuff and wanting to be part of it, right? And this can happen with every museum, right? They should be cultural spaces because they're public buildings, right? They should be cultural spaces for everyone, not just a small elite, right? And the only way you can make these truly integrate, oh, fucking hell. True equity, right? It's a fucking word. True equity for everyone is by having everyone being part of it, right? So, you know, this is why I think, you know, if it was me, I'd put a fucking great big bomb into the art world and blow the fuckers up, right? You know, and start again, right? But have every element, every diversity, every minority, every group, every ethnic, do you know what I mean? The whole fucking melting pot of what makes us a cultural fucking country, full of this diverse beauty, and have everyone's voices in there, right? So I want to see artwork by people who've had addiction problems on the walls. I want to see artwork by mothers with single babies, and you know what I mean? This whole sort of variety of stuff, right? You know, because then that make me feel like that I have some equity in that building because I'm seeing art made by people like me. And that's and that will make I think it was Sir Nicholas Throat turned around and said, how do we get people into the art world who wouldn't normally come in there? Well, it's quite easy. They have to be part of that fucking world, right? You can't just say, oh, we're giving you the opportunity to be part of this world. No, it's our fucking world as well, mate, right? My fucking taxes are paying for this, so I want part of it. You know, this is why I really want to go into one of these big museums one day and just fucking put a nail in the wall and put a piece of my artwork up and walk off and see if they take it down. But you know what I mean? Like, just to say, right, fuck it, like, you know, because I think, you know, it's all well and good me whinging and like, you know, I've been very lucky that I've managed to have shows in some of these big places. Like, I have been very lucky. I've had stuff in the Tate Modern, Tate Liverpool, Salt Mills in Leeds. Where else have I been? I can't remember now. But you know, I've had some big shows, like, and that's been great. And I've had funding for several shows. But but it took fucking a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to be able to get there.
Mm.
A person like me shouldn't be getting shows like that.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be. Like, not in their eyes. So, am I becoming the token? Am I the tokenistic element of, they make it look like they're letting people in little by little, chicken step, but ultimately doesn't really change, does it? So this is why I think something like this virus could actually be a really good fucking thing, because suddenly the art world has to change, corporations have to change, governments have to change. Everything has to. We can't go back to what was normal, because normal wasn't working for anyone before. So if it wasn't working for anyone before, then why the fuck would we want to go back to that normal? I want to go back. I want to go to something new. I want to try something new.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to concept my own TV show. I've got a screen coming in the. I've ordered a green screen.
Do it, man.
Yeah, and I'm trying to, like, even if it doesn't go anywhere, just to, I just thought this is a great opportunity to reclaim something and to do something myself, because I got the time.
I agree, and I think you just said the right thing. It's about reclaiming, right? Because we do have the ownership of this rights. The BBC makes programs for, well, I don't know who they make it for. Like, I don't really watch it anymore because I'm sick of it. But it's about reclaiming what's actually ours. As human beings, art is a human right. It's a human right for every single person. So surely we should be allowed access and the right to actually make the art that I want to make. And really there should be then places that should show that work. I'm not saying that I want shows all over the place. No, actually I do. No, but no, but I'm not saying that. I want everyone to have that opportunity. Like I've forgotten his fucking name as well. The guy in the Tate Britain with all the school kids. Ugh.
Yeah, it hasn't been your day for names, has it?
No, exactly. It's the big black dude artist who did all the school children's pictures, and it's gone out of my head anyway. But he's given opportunity to get people, like, you wouldn't expect to see a school picture on a wall in a gallery, but why shouldn't we be seeing stuff like that? Do you know what I mean?
That's why the university degree shows are actually often quite good. I know they can be really London centric sometimes, but like we did the graduate project and we went all over the UK to those different shows, and the diversity of work, and it was that exact thing of just meeting the people and being like, oh, you're exactly like me. You're just a young person that's trying to do their thing, and such a diversity of people that I met, and so I recommend for people, university art shows are definitely somewhere to start.
That's where that picture came from, the one of the face.
There we go.
That was I saw it, and it was the first picture this guy ever sold, and I saw it in the show and I went, wow, I really like that. I want to buy it. And she went, what do you mean you want to buy it? And I went, I want to buy it. How much? And she went, I went, I'll buy it off you. So I bought it. I fucking love it. My favourite piece.
And it's a shame. I'm trying to, because we were going to do the same thing again and go around, because it was so much fun, and we're trying to think we might have to do like an online thing, like we just mentioned, because there's all this work. It's so anticlimactic, I think, for a lot of these students, and I don't know how they're going to. But I'm close with some people on a great course at Central St Martin's called Material Futures, which is just like crazy, like ideas of the future of design. And I'm going to talk to them soon and see what we can do and see what these
do it, man,
where they can show their work. And I've actually just had an email from the Canvas of all people, so I've got them lined up. David, thank you so much for doing
this. My pleasure, man. My pleasure. Anytime. Appreciate it.
I'll talk to you, and we'll see if there's any links and stuff you want to add with this, and let people know about some stuff.
No worries, man.
Enjoy
it, buddy.
Don't eat it all too quickly.
Oh my God, I so am. Cheers, buddy. Nice
All
to
right,
chat
speak
to you.
soon. Bye.
Take care, man. Take care. Bye.